Hi, welcome to Leadership and Learning, the podcast where we help learners design learning strategies that fuel growth. I'm Jeremy Robb, a Fractional Chief Learning Officer, or CLO on Demand, helping startups and scaling companies align people, performance, and purpose. So today we're going to be exploring engaging and including neurodivergent groups. And how this is going to bring a lot of power and value to your organization. Okay, so if you've been following my LinkedIn posts, I recently had the opportunity to take a cognitive test through a recruiting firm. And this cognitive test, it went really well, other than there was a lot of math. And I am um, I'm neurodivergent, and part of that neurodivergence is I have dyscalculia, which means I don't struggle to do math. I struggle to do math fast. And so if there's a lot of mathematical questions and a lot of mathematical computations that have to be done within a timed limit, it throws me off and I'm not able to finish. So it's just something that I've always had a problem with. It's one of the reasons why I never became an astrophysicist, which is one of my goals when I was young. I couldn't do the math fast, and so I had a problem with math tests. So with the cognitive exam or the cognitive test, it became very clear to me that this was designed with a very specific bias in place, and that was for neurotypical minds. Now, a neurotypical mind that's really well structured and is able to do math very, very well, as you would expect someone that's going in for a senior leadership position to do, they are not going to be constrained by dyscalculia, and they're not going to have problems trying to do the math and having to sound it out and work the stuff out on paper or anything like that. Which is fine, and that's not really the fault of the creator of the cognitive test. This is actually very, very common in most cognitive exams. Cognitive tests are designed by researchers who are neurotypical, and they don't think about neurodivergent needs. They're not maliciously doing this. It's not deliberate or anything like that. It's just natural human condition. We are biased towards our own experiences. And so they have trouble with this. So I had posted 4 possible ways to reevaluate this exam and bring it more in alignment with a neurodiverse target group. And I want to go through these 4 points because these 4 points, and I'm going to add a 5th one there, that doesn't really work with cognitive tests particularly, but does work with leadership. And we'll cover that in a minute. But the reason why this is important is because neurodivergent employees are the ones that are more likely to bring value to your organization. They see things that others don't see. They are more creative in the way they approach things. They bring more productivity into your groups. It obviously depends on the neurodivergent gifts that they have, but it's been proven that you get 2.6 times the amount of productivity when you have a neurodiverse organization and you have a lot of neurodivergent employees, as opposed to sticking with the same neurotypical mindset that we're biased towards. So as a company, why wouldn't you want that, right? So let's talk about what we can do to help things become more inclusive to neurodivergent minds. Okay, so first off, number 1, you want to remove the time component. Okay, if you have anything that has to be released in a timed manner, this is going to really throw off folks that need time to process. Folks who are autistic need to be able to process and think things through and understand the ask. Folks who are dyslexic need time to process what is being written. Folks who are dyscalculic, and I believe that's the word, um, but those who have dyscalculia need time to work through the math and verify that their math is correct. Okay, um, that is going to be absolutely invaluable. Now, there are ways that you can over work through that, and that's one of the benefits of AI. Actually, um, for AI, they can read out what is being written. You know, text to speech has been one of the great values for dyslexic folks because they're able to process things a lot better that way. For autistic folks, they're able to go in and interact with the AI a lot easier than they are in a general group. And so they can come to decisions or they can work through things without shutting down a lot easier. And the one um, the one exception to that would be dyscalculic folks, because you can't really trust the math yet in AI, but you can trust the math for the most part in Excel. So there you go. You've got options. So utilizing tools and allowing the use of tools is another very good benefit in doing that. But removing the time component or that time constraint, it adds additional stress and additional cognitive load onto someone that's already working through a neurodivergent condition. So remove that. Number two, you want to ensure that the test isn't language heavy. Keep it simple, keep it easy. This is something that's really difficult for folks like me who are very verbose, and we love talking and writing and using big words and whatnot. You know, when you read Tolkien a lot and you read books from the 1800s quite a bit because you're a history buff, uh, yeah, you tend to pick up quite the vocabulary. Um, that does not help folks who are dyslexic. They're going to struggle with that. And if you have auditory processing disorders, that is also a problem. So with auditory processing disorders, they're generally trying to read out the words. When you're reading, it's a lot like auditory processing. It's connected to the same part of the brain. So you're reading the words out loud, and it takes a while to process what's being said. That can be a problem. Folks with autism tend to have auditory processing disorders or auditory delay. Uh, Dyslexia, if they're dyslexic, obviously they're having problems reading what's being said, so they may want to, throw something through AI to rephrase it and then read it out to them. Again, another benefit of AI is being able to take language heavy content, strip it down to the valuable information, and then providing that. So when you're writing, when you're communicating, or anything like that, keep things simple. One of the organizations I worked for at Abnormal AI, they had a tradition of doing a TLDR, which is flat out, this is the point I'm trying to get across, and then explain why. And then they would go through and explain why, so you can get the more detailed explanation as to what's going on. That's a great way of including folks who are dyslexic, who have auditory processing disorders, and engaging them uh, by just reducing the amount of language that's being communicated. Okay, number three, avoid sensory overload with flashy visuals, cluttered screens, complex navigation. The more difficult it is to do something, the more likely someone's going to turn off. And this is, in general, a good rule of thumb. If you have to do over 10 steps to accomplish something, your UI needs to be revisited. If you so let me give you an example. While I was working for ServiceNow, Miro became kind of like the platform of the day, and everyone started using Neuro, and they thought it was great. We can use this to collaborate with, and it's wonderful, and it really is a great platform. The problem that I had with the visual distraction was that everyone's pointer was animated on the screen. Now, 2 or 3 people, probably not going to be that big of a deal. 5 to 8 people bothered me. I once went into a meeting that was a general training with 80 people and all these points just moving around. I turned it off. I couldn't do it. Now I did find out later on that with Miro you can turn off that setting, which was very handy. But things like that become very overly stimulating for folks that have problems processing information. So make things simple. There's a reason why Apple's platform has been for the longest time very well received in the disability community, because they've kept things for the most part pretty stripped down, pretty flat, pretty. I mean, you could say Spartan in a way, but it's really easy to use. Um, and Microsoft, with the most recent versions of Windows, has moved to that model. Keep things simple, keep it easy, and more people are able to engage. They feel less overwhelmed with what's going on. As a side note, if you're the type of person that saves a lot of stuff on your desktop and you ask someone to come over and look at something on your desktop for you, that will, if they have sensory processing issues, they can get sensory overload just by seeing all the icons on your screen. Just saying that. I keep mine pretty clean, uh, just for that reason. So number 4 is going to be utilize the input of neurodivergent individuals to challenge your biases. Now, this should be straight up standard practice in every organization, in every company, right? You may have a lot of people that say, yes, that's great. Look for folks that come from different backgrounds, different um, different experiences, and get their feedback. Because if you build for a small group, you're going to have a great application for that small group, and you're not going to have the reach, or application or product or service. You're not going to have the reach, you're not going to have the understanding, and you're going to have a lot of frustration from folks who think differently than you do, right? So as a startup, this means obviously, engage as many customers as you can, get feedback from as many customers as you can. As you get larger, hire as many different people as you can, culturally, um, educationally, cognitively. You want to have the feedback from as many different people as possible so that you can better understand. Okay, so yeah, for neurodivergent individuals, this is great for appealing to them. I would say for any uh, different group, whether it's culturally, racially, anything like that. Um, you'll want to keep that as diverse as possible, and get feedback from all of them. It strengthens your position as an organization and strengthens your company overall, and you're going to have a farther reach, and you'll be able to grow faster. Okay, so the 5th one that I didn't post, and it's because it doesn't really apply to cognitive tests specifically, but it does apply in the corporate world, and that is focus on the individual need, the individual requirements, the individual enablement. What does that mean? Um, Everyone's going to be different. Even in neurodivergent groups, one thing that we always say about autism is if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism, right? That's not going to be anything different. If you know one person who's ADHD, you know one person who's ADHD. Everyone expresses their neurodivergence differently, and that impacts how they can be supported. They can't be supported with blanket services and blanket promises and blanket things. Every request, every need is going to be slightly different, and they're going to need to be accommodated. So the question you might be asking is, well, why am I accommodating? I mean, why is it really necessary? I could just hire someone that doesn't need to be accommodated. Well, other than all the points that I brought up before, that they tend to be, folks who are neurodivergent tend to be 2.6 times more productive than a neurotypical person. By showing that you care about employees that need it, you're showing that you care about all your employees. This builds trust. This builds relationships within the organization, and it helps people move in their motivational needs from that safety, even from the social, into your purpose-driven need. And that's where you really want your folks, because that's the sweet spot for productivity. That's a sweet spot for drive. That's where people are working because they believe in what you're doing. They're not going to believe in what they're doing if they don't trust you. You need to build that trust, and building trust means focusing on the individual. So what are the takeaways from this? There are 5 different steps that you can take to make your organization, your team, your experiences within the team more neurodiverse or neurodivergent friendly. And that is, remove time components. Ensure that the test, or ensure that your information isn't going to be language heavy. Avoid sensory overload. You want to utilize the input of your neurodivergent individuals, and you want to focus on the individual and their needs. Okay. Now, if you want more information about this, if you want to discuss how you can build a more neurodiverse and neurodivergent friendly organization, and how you can see the value of this, feel free to contact us. Come to our website at robclan.com and book a call. Let's sit down and chat, and we can discuss what your needs are and what it is you need to accomplish, and we can make that happen. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Leadership and Learning. I'm Jeremy Robb, and we'll see you next week for more insights on learning leadership for growth.